How are you? How are you feeling?
You know what? You learn to just say good. I got rich lady blues. You know what rich lady blues are?
I have no idea what
I got shelter, I got food, I got my
Yeah.
health, I got love,
Yeah.
and I got the luxury of existential angst.
Wow. That sounds like it's a really good problem to have.
Yeah, that's what I said. It makes me feel squirrely, like I'm gonna go mad, but I'm not gonna go anywhere other than active right now.
Yeah.
It is an exciting time of social activity that the likes of which we haven't seen since the late 60s, early 70s.
Yeah.
So
I'm just happy to be alive right now. And I'm excited to even be speaking to you, excited for the international release of Clemency. It's received so many reviews. I've watched all like the pre-interviews online on every major platform. And I think for me, one of the questions that I wanted to start off with this interview was, you amass such an incredible story, such an incredible body of work through your acting career. What drew you to this role of Bernadine Williams and Clemency?
well, I remember I grew up in Oklahoma, in Tulsa,
Yeah.
and I had a very comfortable life, beyond comfortable. And I had a lot of love around me and support. And my dad was just the first and the last man. He was an incredible human being. And your daddy can fetch you the moon if you ask.
Yeah.
But I remember being, probably 7 years old the first time they fried somebody, because they used to electrocute you. Barbarians that we are.
Wow.
They used to electrocute people and literally fry their brains. And I remember hearing, oh, this person is going to be put to death, electrocuted tonight at the state prison, and the kind of mood that it put my father and my mother in. And it was weird to think that there was something that affected us all, but we didn't know the people. And that whole idea, and it made me weep. I had a tendency to weep if I read in my weekly reader that 2,000 people died in a flood in India. It always affected me. And so I just remember that, and it happened a lot. Every time that happened, I felt a sadness and a sickness that was new to my life. And that, talking to my father about it, there's nothing my father could do about it. It was one of those first times, well, this is how it is.
Yeah.
And so I have always been on the other end of the equation, trying to stop executions, signing petitions, going to vigils, that sort of thing. But when Chinonye Chukwu, when I was approached by Bronwyn Cornelius, our producer, put me and Chinonye together, and she said, this is from the warden's point of view. And you would be the warden. Of course, my ears prick up, because I'm always interested in doing things that I don't know how to do.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of a woman warden. And so it was important for me, sometimes getting to the truth. Well, it should always involve the whole truth, but we didn't have the whole truth. People here in the States have either been for the death penalty or against the death penalty for generations, but nobody had ever told the story of the people that we then say, okay, this is how we feel, and you're going to do it. We charge them to carry it out. You kill them, 10 years later in the light of day in a ritualistic Christian ceremony, you kill that person. And so that was an adventure that needed to be taken, and I was willing to put myself up to take it.
Yeah, I mean, the film is so powerful. Even with the opening scene, we see like a nonchalant face, then we see a brown person on the table, and we see everyone feeling tense in the moment. And just that whole imagery and the cinematography in there was so poised. The moment you realize that something has gone wrong, it grips your attention. And even more so now at the time where Black Lives Matter is at the highest point, obviously with the protests and even louder than ever. What would you say are some of the key elements that you feel that people wanting to support the Black Lives Matter movement that can take away from seeing this film?
Well, if people don't know, the mass incarceration of Black and brown bodies, I don't know how you guys have it in the UK, but in the States, it is a horrific pandemic in itself. And it starts in our elementary schools. It starts when kids of color are told, sit down, be still, don't do that, don't move, when it is physiologically impossible for little boys to be still, even up until 12 years old. But
Yeah.
and then that child gets branded, trouble, impossible, and all.
Mhm.
Anyway, it's all those things. And then by third grade, because he's constantly being sent out the room, then he's a troublemaker. He can't read because he's not in the class most of the time.
Yeah.
And kids that can't read by third grade, they're more apt to drop out by 10th grade. And then you got that cradle to prison pipeline going. Just the fact that, many of us have recognized that, have been talking about it for years, but it's hard to get people's attention, especially in America, because Americans is such an individualistic society. We ran away from y'all. We ran away from the crown. The Puritans were really whack, but they took like religious freedom, but they were whack. And so that whole thing of, I, me. So when you appeal to an American, you have to appeal to their heart. You got to show them a story about another individual and then they're moved by it. They're not moved by statistics. No. And so anyway, this cosmically brutal murder of George Floyd did, although Breonna, we don't have footage of Breonna being, murdered in her house, in her sleep. This one, because it took 8 minutes and 46 seconds, just showed the depth of disregard and the brutality that is visited upon Black bodies since we set foot, brought to this continent in 1619. And it hasn't abated one day. It's never slowed down, every day, every year, all the way through to the present. But this is no denying it. People that could say, because human beings want to not think about it, don't get involved. I mean, that's how we are as human beings. And so as awful as that was, it thrusts upon people the reality of what we've been saying, the brutality against Black and brown people, the mass incarceration. All of that is a picture, a connected jigsaw.
Okay, Hollywood, it's in deep dialogue right now, and even now more so, there's a kind of cause to bring about equality and fair representation. What do you feel the industry could be doing to level the playing field in that sense?
Well, you will know that in probably 2 weeks, because there is plotting and serious planning by people who know, Black people who know how every department, every aspect of the industry works, and there is a specific plan of a way forward. There is this opening, and we are going to lock our elbows against the opening and introduce this change that people, the alleged progressive Hollywood community, won't just be able to say, yes, I believe Black Lives Matter. They will have to show it. They'll have to show it. But again, back to these people in the streets. Let's go to the streets. The Black Lives Matter movement, which contains hundreds of other organizations, hundreds of activists, hundreds of programs. So when we say Black Lives Matter, it's like saying the sun came up in the east, from the east today.
Yes.
So that is becoming mainstream, and that's the important thing. And that allows the conversation and movement and action around justice on all fronts.
What's your advice for young Black talent looking to make it in the industry now, in this day and age? Longevity is key, and that's something that you have.
I don't know. I don't know, because I came in the industry 47 years ago, and it is a different industry than when I came in, and it changes every few years. One of the things that you guys have at your advantage is you have access to an audience that we never had. We had to, first of all, the struggle was get a certified agent. You couldn't go get an interview unless the certified agent sent you. That might take 10 years to get one. Then you had to talk to a mogul at a studio, the whole thing. Right now, you can write your content, do whatever you want to do, write your music, and go online. And you can, so you have access. You can tell your story to people in Tibet, sitting there in Brixton. So there's been the democratization of
you said
access
Brixton?
to the audiences.
You know where Brixton is?
Oh yeah. I always know where my people are. Thing that I want everybody to know, just because you have access, don't shortchange it. Whatever you do, excellence is the byword. Train, practice. Don't work for likes. Don't work for money. Don't work for fabulousness. Work to bring your song or your story for the healing of the nations, and you will always be successful.
Alfre dropped the mic on that one. That sounded like a speech on the podium there. Clemency won the Dramatic Grand Jury Prize at the Sundance. Yeah. What are your ultimate hopes for the film moving forward?
My hopes are that in every Cineplex, now that we don't know who we're going to get back to them, but I want every household in every hamlet in America to watch this film. Then it's up to them. You put out a story and people receive it because everybody's at different places in their personal journeys. I want every household in the UK to see it. I want households in France, in Germany, in Australia, because you can bet your ass, wherever there are people of color, the same thing is being played out. Yeah. So y'all can say, oh, well, we're not frying people anymore. Well, what are you doing to them? How are you killing the lives at the root of your Black and brown people? How are you killing at the root the lives of the Muslim population if you are a Chinese citizen? So it's everywhere in the world. It's just, because there are platforms that put stories everywhere, nobody's off the hook. So no, maybe you're not lethally injecting people, but there is, and it's so weird too, because people of color are the majority population in the world. Mm-hmm. Don't let them wake up. Don't let them wake up and move. Mm-hmm. Just better hope that the hearts and the spiritual DNA that has been passed on by our ancestors, which is why we've survived, will appeal to the majority of colored people around the world when they are manning the ship. Yeah.
You picked such interesting roles, and obviously we wanted to know over here at That Grape Juice, what's next for you? I know that you have a movie.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. Oh, it was so much fun.
I do my research.
Oh my God.
Tell us about that movie and what can we expect?
Well, interestingly enough, Kevin Hart is more of a straight man in it, but it's impossible for him to play total straight man. He's hilarious. But there's other guys in it that are just like off the hook. And I play his mother-in-law. My daughter has, I don't know if I want to give it away. Let's just say this. Kevin is in charge of a newborn baby. And he won't let his mother help, and he won't let me help. And it's my grandbaby. So therein he will make you weep. Of course, he's going to make you guffaw. Yeah. But it's so touching and brilliant. And it's a side of Kevin Hart that as an actor, and he's refining his chops as an actor, but it's just a side of him as a man that you wouldn't expect him to be able to tap into. So it's great. It's going to be a lot of fun, fatherhood. We're also doing a Fannie Lou Hamer project. I call her the godmother of the American vote. She's a sharecropper that started the Democratic Freedom Party in Mississippi, and she brought LBJ night terrors back in '64 at the Democratic Convention. We're doing Juanita too. Have you seen Juanita?
No, I have not. Not yet.
Oh, bruh. It's on Netflix. Everybody got to watch Juanita. You think you know my work, but you don't. I say if you watch Clemency and watch Juanita,
Yeah.
then you've got an idea of within that the territory in which I operate.
Yes.